Hello everyone, welcome to Conversations with the Real Estate Redhead. Today I'm going to come on and it's just me by myself. I just want to kind of talk to y'all a little bit about how to get your real estate license and what that looks like in the state of Texas. I've had countless people ask me, how to get your real estate license, how to get started. And so I just wanted to kind of put it all together for y'all and, one podcast for you. So it'll be a good resource for y'all going forward. There might be a small detail that I miss or a small detail that I leave out. But as of January 2022, this is how you, go about getting your license and how I went about going about getting mine. I don't remember how I did it because I did it so fast and I just wanted to get it done. So when people ask me, I literally do not remember. All I remember is saying I wanted to do it, buying the classes, passing all of the stuff, taking all the tests, and doing it as quickly as possible, and then waiting forever for everyone else to do what they needed to do so that I could get my license. And what I mean by that is you have to do a background check and you have to wait for it to come back. You have to send in all of your certifications after you take your courses and wait for it to come back. And you've got to wait for the clear to take your test, and it's just a lot of waiting, and your girl is not patient, so it just seemed like it took forever for all the things to happen, even though I got my license really fast. So we will start with the first part. You have to choose let me look at my notes again. You have to choose a qualified education provider. And what that means is you can go from anywhere from a community college to an online course. It just depends on what you want and where you're located. So down here in South Texas, we've got a community college here, but we also have a lot of online resources as well. I chose Champions for mine, and Champions has a lot of different courses. You can do an interactive online video one. You can do textbook only, where you just have access to large PDF textbooks. You can go in person and go to in-person classes with them. You can also do proctored stuff where it's on Zoom, and every single section you choose has a different cost associated with it. It just depends on what's going to be the best fit for you. Whenever I did it, I choose the least involved one possible because I was going to be doing it on the side after work whenever I got off work from my full-time job. And so I just did the ones where you download the PDF. What that looked like for me is basically reading through the textbook. This is what I did, and you don't necessarily have to do what I did, all right, but I just study differently than some people. I am a repetitions person, and for me, all I needed to do was pass the test so that I could get hands-on experience. Some people like to read, some people are very analytical, and they like to see every little thing and go through every detail and remember stuff, and I'm just not like that. I can be very analytical, but in different ways that don't involve reading books. I don't read well. I read fine. I just hate reading. It's not my thing. I'd rather listen to someone read it to me than me read it myself. And so anyway, for the first section that I did, there's 6 chapters. There's 6 different, is there 6? I think there's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's either 5 or 6 different chapters. I think there's 6 that you have to go through, and they're really long. And so you have to read through all of them, and then you have practice tests. And Champions is really good about giving you lots of tests and giving you lots of practice. So each book I think had 12 chapters, and every chapter had its own little test and its own topics. And like I said, it's very fuzzy because all I was doing was pushing through it as fast as possible. I don't remember a lot of details. But Champions is very good about giving you all of the things that you need to succeed. And they do a really good job with giving you lots of tests throughout. And then once you get done with each chapter, there's a test. And then each book has a big test. And those tests are proctored online. You've got to schedule them. And then after that, you get a certificate every single time you pass. And the state of Texas requires 180 hours. And so it comes from lots of different topics. Some of them are principles of real estate. You've got real estate finance, law of contracts, law of agency, and then the contracts, promulgated contract forms. And so it can be very daunting when you get started, and it can feel like it's never going to end. It just depends on your study habits, and it depends on how quickly you want to get it done. For me, I was going slow, and then some things happened at my job, and I had nothing but time to get it done because they no longer let me work there because I wanted to do my real estate license. So I was unemployed and needed to get my real estate license. So I got it as quickly as possible. And I just spent all day studying and pushing through the tests. And really, a lot of people may tell you all this, but whenever you're studying and whenever you're not really sure which direction to go and what to do, the main goal at the end is going to be getting the certificates for each subject matter, because you need those to send to the state to be able to take your test. And then from there, you have to pass your test. You can choose whichever avenue you want to be able to pass your test. You can go and study and listen to YouTube videos. Prep Agent is amazing. I listened to his videos literally the entire day before I took my test, and I know I wouldn't have passed if I didn't do that. And then on my way driving to the test, I listened to his videos over and over again, because there's terms that would stick for me, and then there was terms that just didn't stick for me at all. And like the different types of estates are still confusing to me. And so they all are very similar but are different in small ways. And so I listened to a lot of YouTube videos the day before my test, and I just crammed. And all through college, that's exactly how I got through everything. So that's what I just continued to do, and it worked. So like I said, you can choose to do that. You can choose to take your time. It's completely up to you how you want to go about doing it. But for me, I wanted to get it as quickly as possible, and so that's what I did. But it's really important to keep those certificates that you get whenever you pass a course, because you need to keep all of those, and you'll have to send those to the state whenever you have passed everything and you're ready to take your test. While you're waiting to take your test, so I think I was trying to kill two birds with one stone, and I remember, if I remember correctly, I got all my certificates and I sent them to the state, and I think I had to have my background check by then too, or maybe the background check was sent automatically. I think the background check was sent automatically. So you can either print these certificates and mail them to them and wait, which I don't do waiting well, like I said, so I emailed them. And it took a little while to hear back. I don't remember how long. Maybe I couldn't even give you a time frame because I don't remember. I was just trying to get it done as quickly as possible. I did the fingerprints at the same time, and you basically just go online and you try and find your nearest fingerprint area, place where they do that, and it's a background check at the same time, and they do your fingerprints really quick and easy. And then once you get all of that done, you can apply for your license. And I think you have to hear back from the state that they received your certifications and that they received your background check. Yeah, there's like an application status tracker on the Texas Real Estate Commission website, and you can put in your name, and it'll tell you how far along you are in the process. And like every single day, I would just refresh it a few times a day to see like where I was at and what they received. And so basically, whenever you're going through all of this, it just really feels like you have to wait on everyone else to get things done. And for me, I wanted to get it done so quickly, and I knew what the end goal was, and so I basically did everything I could, and then it was just a waiting game. But the good thing with that is you can try and study for the exam while you wait. So Champions has like 6 different exams for you to be able to study. Whenever you take your real estate test in Texas, you have a national portion and you have a state portion. The national portion is 85 questions and the state portion is 40 questions. And they are very specific, and they're both sections are super hard. And so Champions gives you, I think they give you 6 state and 6, they give you 6 state and 6 national. And they're like a lot of questions. I mean, like I said, 85 questions for the national. And so I would go through and I would just take the test over and over and over and over again. And at the beginning, I mean, I was not doing great. And I was like, man, this is going to be a rough ride. And then I just kept taking them over and over again. And then I was getting like 90s on every single one of them. And I was like, okay, well, I feel like I have a pretty good understanding, but these few are still are still tripping me up. So then I would go over those. And then there's some calculations you have to know, like how many feet are in a mile, or how many square feet are in a mile and stuff like that. And so there's other calculations, like if someone wants to know what their gross income is going to be if a condo is rented for whatever occupancy rate for the year and they make this much and they have this much expenses. There's different, calculations to learn like that. But whenever I took my test, there was a small handful of questions that were like that. So don't worry too much over one or two concepts. If you get the full gist of it, then you're probably going to have a good outcome on the test. If you get worried about taking tests and it stresses you out, I would try and replicate it the best you can at home on those practice tests and make them as serious as possible. Because in Texas, you have to go to a Pearson testing center, and at that testing center, like you can't even have on jewelry. You have to, you can't talk. They give you like a piece of scratch paper and a pencil, and your test is on the computer. And so it can be very serious and it can be very intimidating if you have never been in a testing environment like that before. So take your time. You have plenty of time to get it done. And some other tips I have for that really helped me is while I was going through my test, like if there's 85 questions, on the national, as you go through, you're on like question 10 and you're like, wow, like this question is really tripping me up. Answer the question and then flag it. And then at the end, whatever questions you have flagged, you can come back to, and you can look at them and say, after you've taken the whole test and you have all of these other, like nuggets of info that you've gathered throughout you're taking your test, you can say, okay, well, I think this is actually the answer. And then you can be a little bit more, serious about the way that you're answering the question. You have a little bit more confidence in your answer. The test is so hard. I don't know. I've taken my insurance test in Texas too, and I went through like a crash course with that one. And I feel like it might have been a little bit easier, but it was like over 5 years ago that I took that test, so I can't really remember. But I knew I failed it. Whenever I walked away, I was so afraid to look at the paper. And whenever I did, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. How did I pass this thing? So remember, what I've been told is 40% of people fail their first time they take the test. So if you fail it the first time, it's okay. You have the ability to retake it. So just because you fail it doesn't mean that you don't know what you're doing. It doesn't mean anything. That test is so hard. It's okay if you don't pass it the first time. It doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. It doesn't mean you're not going to be a good realtor. There are so many people I know that haven't been able to pass it the first time. And it's not a reflection of yourself. So keep that in mind if you don't pass it the first time. But it's, to give you an example, and this is kind of how I tell people that ask me that, about the test. If it's like a beautiful blue sky day, and the question gives you a picture of like a photo of a blue sky, the answer choices are going to say the question will be like, what is the color of this sky? The answer choices are going to say like light blue, medium blue, sky blue, and you have to answer which one that is. Literally any of those questions could be correct. And it's very difficult because that's how they format the test. And there's a handful of questions on the state and the national that are, they're just like sample questions that they're just trying out. And some of the questions are so hard, you just don't even know. I mean, so just be prepared for that. Be prepared for it to be very tricky and very, they are trying to trip you up. They're trying to really, really test your knowledge and your abilities to understand the terms. And a lot of it's terms, a lot of it's definitions. So just stay positive. Don't get in your head. Don't get discouraged because that test is super hard. But really, the main majority of getting your license in Texas is going to be getting those 180 hours done. Once you have the 180 hours done, you apply to take the test and you do your background check, and then you wait for them to give you the golden ticket that you can take it. And then you go on the Pearson website. Once you get that number that comes from the state, they say, hey, you're cleared, you can take your test. You get that number and you put it into the Pearson website whenever you go to schedule it. I tried scheduling my test. Like I said, I'm not patient. I tried scheduling my test before I had the number, and they're like, no, you can't do that. So like it does not let you through without the little number that you'll get emailed. So once you get that number emailed to you, you'll put it in the system, and then it'll let you schedule it. And keep in mind, like for mine, it was pretty booked. The testing center was pretty booked, and I was like, well, I either know this stuff or I don't. So I just picked a day and I went for it. And so just be prepared with that, and to kind of go over some of the fees associated with it. Let me kind of tell y'all a little bit about that. When it comes to your licensing, classes, those can vary. It depends on if you want to go to community college, if you want to do it online with very little instruction, if you want to do it online with a lot of instruction. My classes were like $990 with Champions, and that was for everything. And it also gave me all of the prep tests at the end and everything like that. But it was very hands-off. You can go, I don't know what they go up to, but that's whenever I got mine, and it was that's how much it costs. And they have all different kinds of, on the Texas Realtors Education website where you go, it's called TREC, TREC. Whenever you go to their website, they will have all of the accredited places you can go to take your test, and they also, or like to get your education from, and they also have their pass and fail rate there too. So I definitely would look into that whenever you're trying to search. There's a lot of different ways you can go about, getting that. So the actual application to apply for your license is $185, and you have to do that in order to be able to get the number, to get the code to be able to actually take your test. Your background check is like $38, and then there's a fee you have to pay for Pearson, and I don't remember what that fee was. But it's a few $100s to be able to take your test. Let's say like maybe less than $300 to actually take the test, with the application fee, the background check and all of that is probably $300 or less. And then, you've got however you want to go about getting your courses done. However you want to go about studying for that. There's people that I know that have driven all the way from South Texas down here in Corpus all the way to San Antonio every weekend to be able to study and to be able to take their courses. And then there's people like me that just used the textbook and figured it out. And then there's other people who like the videos that they have, online. So it's completely up to you on which way you want to go about doing it, but just be prepared for the expense. And then something else to be kind of aware of too, after you pass your test and you get that golden ticket, hey, I passed, everything's great, you have to find a broker. And whenever it comes to finding a broker, it's kind of like a two-way interview whenever you do that. So you'll go around to different brokerages and you'll tell them, hey, I just passed my real estate test, and or you can do it, multiple different ways. I did mine before whenever I was taking my courses, because I like to plan ahead. And so basically I was like, okay, well, I'd like to find out who I'm going to choose before I get to that point. And so it's an interview process. You want to interview the brokerage to make sure they have what you're looking for and they have the support that you want, and or what are they going to give you for what you're giving them, is basically the way that the interview went for me. And then from there you can kind of decide, if you want to proceed that way or not, whichever brokerage you want to go with. It didn't take me long to find my broker because I already knew who I wanted to choose based upon my, previous experience with my previous realtor, and I was an assistant for her, so I had already kind of had some understanding of their operating system and the way they did things. And I'm really glad that I actually chose Keller Williams. I think that they're amazing, and they offer so many things. But you might want to just go with a broker if you plan to do this, really part-time, and you want a broker that doesn't have very many fees. And, sometimes people will call them discount brokers. You can go there if you don't need a whole lot of support. It just really depends what you're looking for when it comes to your broker. But remember, it's not like a traditional job interview where they interview you. Yes, they want to see that you're a good fit for the company, but you also want to see that you're a good fit for them too. If they're going to be charging you, a whole lot of money. They're going to have production requirements. They're going to have, this or that. If they're very hands-on and don't really let you have a whole lot of flexibility with your business, there's a lot of ways that you can kind of poke around and figure out if it's what you want or not. And that's what that time is for you to be able to decide that and which way you want to proceed. So I highly recommend that. Feel free to reach out with me, to me if you have any questions about that, what to ask, what to look for, and everything like that. I'm always an open book. I'm always happy to share, whatever you need. My number is 361-463-1837. So call me or just text me. You can also comment on any of my posts or whatever if you ever have questions, and send me a direct message. I'm always available, and I always want to be able to educate. That's also another reason for this podcast and why I do this. So I think I covered everything here, but like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. And thank you guys for tuning in today.